So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. iPhone 17 versus iPhone 17 Pro versus 17 Pro Max 6 months later. So I want to talk to you about these three in the lineup here and talk to you about which one I thought was the best in each category to help you decide or figure out which one you might be planning to go with if you haven't done so already. Now, some people don't get them when they first come out. They might be saving for later this year or waiting until the 18s come out to go ahead and get these at a cheaper price. So let's go ahead and talk about it from an ownership's perspective. So first of all, let me just say for price to value performance ratio, the 17 is a runaway victory. This one is just, it's a better value for your money than both of these if all you care about is getting a fast, smooth, and an iPhone that does everything you need it to do, including a great camera, good battery, good performance. It's just, these are just so much more money that they're just not even close to the iPhone 17 when it comes to that value proposition. So if that's what you're looking for, I think the 17 has all the goodies you need. It does have up to 10 times zoom, which is the same as some older flagship iPhones. It does have macro mode. It has that same front-facing ultra-wide camera, which is super enjoyable to use. It also does have more of their previous iPhone 16 design, but it also has camera control, action button on the left side. And the big thing and the big deal here is the ProMotion, because the ProMotion makes this phone feel exactly like a Pro phone. But with the A19 not being the Pro chip, the only real area that matters is maybe like if you're really pushing the phone in a game or something heavier, which again, we've talked about before. I don't think many people are doing, but the real change and the real noticeable thing here is the ProMotion display. It makes even people that are getting the base iPhone feel like they're getting something special. And I do enjoy that about this. It's a really smooth experience now. And no longer can we say, well, the iPhone 17 doesn't perform quite like the Pros, and that's why I'm not buying that thing. It makes more sense than ever now. So love the iPhone 17. If you want to go a bit cheaper, you could go iPhone 17e, but the 17e I don't think deserves to be in the same conversation as the 17 because it's just not anywhere near as good as the iPhone 17. It's more like a solid budget offering from Apple, but this one right here just is on another level in terms of value to performance ratio for an Apple iPhone. We've been looking for this style for a long time, and it's finally here, and you can get in some nice colors. So that first 6 months later value to performance is going there. These ones you're just going to pay for them. You're paying to play with the Pros. Let's go on to the build. Now, first of all of these do have really good build body design. They all have really nice feel in the hand. They all feel very nice to use. However, I would say the best 6 months later for just kind of like the build and the body is a 17 Pro. The reason why is you get that two-tone design like you get on the Max, but you get it in a package that is more manageable to hold, feels nice. Yes, you do get that camera plateau, which is not everybody's favorite, but generally this phone just feels like you get the top end feel, but in a nicer to hold size. So for me, and even if you have a big hand, I've even heard people talk about, I have big hands and I still prefer the Pro. So the Pro to me is like the best after 6 months. I've been testing these out for months. This is the best one, I think, when it comes to getting the nice, newer, updated design, but something also comfortable at the same time. So this is like the one you want to use, but also you're impressed with how nice it looks and feels. It looks very classic in the silver right here. You can see the white right there with the silver aluminum chassis right there. You'll see action button is available. We also do have ourselves the camera control there as well. And the camera plateau means that this phone doesn't really rock too much whatsoever on a table. Really good thermals, 5G antenna up at the top, but generally the phone, I just love the way this thing looks and feels. And after 6 months, while it is the same like general look as the Max is a lot more a large feeling device. So it just doesn't feel exactly quite like the 17 Pro. But all of them here are really good in terms of the build. They do have aluminum, so they are susceptible to some chipping or denting if you hit them, if you drop them or whatever. Maybe slightly less durable than those titanium and the stainless steel options. I shouldn't even say slightly. They are definitely a little bit less durable than those. But if you rock a case or even a skin, you should be able to avoid that issue altogether. Now, moving on to the area of display, I'm going to go with the Max. The Max is the king of the displays here. So the next area 6 months later is going to be the displays. Now the iPhone 17 Pro Max has the largest display and by a long shot. You can see it's just so much larger just looking at this big display right here. But the iPhone 17 Pro Max also gives you the display that you're going to want to enjoy media on the most, reading, content, stuff of that sort. And I think that after 6 months, because you get to enjoy the same qualities but on a bigger panel, I do think this is the best display on iPhones today. And that's because larger space, same type of high brightness. You also get the same smoothness, but again, you can watch your movies, you can read everything in a much larger screen area. So to me, it feels like you're getting the best of the best when it comes to display here. Yes, the qualities are kind of the same on the smaller ones, like similar resolution, similar pixels per inch. But again, the way it spreads out on here is quite good on the Max. So I do think for those display lovers out there, they're going to really like the Max of these three. However, the only con, and one of the major cons of the Max, is it just simply doesn't take advantage of its space. It's a very one and done, single app at a time type of thing here. So the Max is for sure going to be that display that you want for media, reading, you want for heavy daily use on the phone, editing photos, videos. If you're doing a bunch on your phone itself, this is going to be probably the one to pick. And especially like when you're doing stuff like editing a quick video, you got more space to see what you're doing on here. If you are editing a photo, more space. So I do think that 6 months later, I've enjoyed the Max's display, even if it comes with the trade-off of this like much larger feel in the hand. I think it's worth it if you enjoy using your applications and watching media and stuff like that, and you don't really want to always go to your tablet or pop open your laptop to do something else. You just want to enjoy a video or a movie quickly. I think these two feel more like communication beasts, and this one still feels like a little bit of a phablet type device. So I do enjoy to recommend the 17 Pro Max if display is your king or your main area that you really want to get the best of the best with your phone. However, if you do want kind of the same thing, you can just get the 17 Pro or the 17 if you don't care about, the largest display in hand day to day. So software, you might think, well, it's a simple answer. You have the same software on all three, Nick. Well, what are you going to talk about software? It's the same exact thing. Well, not quite, because the actual experience of using each phone in terms of software day to day does feel a little bit different. The iPhone 17, 17 Pro, and Pro Max, while they all do run iOS, which is nearly exactly the same, what feels different is the way you interact with each phone. The iPhone 17 kind of feels like their entry in terms of it doesn't have as many features in the camera department. It has 8 gigabytes of RAM. The shape of the phone kind of just feels a little bit different. And the overall software experience to me, because you can't run 2 apps at a time on the iPhones, I do think I'm going to have to give it to the 17 Pro as the best experience of hardware and software on an iPhone. The reason why is because, liquid glass is a very smooth and polished feel. I think it matches up very well with the hardware. So the smooth edges on the 17 Pro and the feel in the hand is very smooth, just like the liquid glass iOS 26. However, with no 2 apps at a time on this size of a phone, I don't really care. I feel like I can one-hand this thing pretty easily. And you could do the same thing on the iPhone 17, but I don't get all the camera features. I don't get all the best features like I do with the 17 Pro. So for me, the top phone here for software experience is the 17 Pro, this one right here. Even though it gets overlooked and most people just want to save money and go with 17E or 17, or go with the top dog 17 Pro Max, you shouldn't overlook the 17 Pro because iOS kind of really is designed to be more mobile. So, having a mobile package with the premium hardware of the Max in a smaller package with liquid glass and smooth edges, this to me is top-notch software experience right here on the base 17 Pro. On the 17 Pro Max, it's also really good, but I just always want to use my Galaxy Ultra when I need to do something more productive. And I don't really think about that on the 17 Pro because I'm like, I accept the fact that this is a mobile device, but I just want more. I'm always craving a little bit more on the Max. On the 17 Pro, it feels like it's a just right software experience on there. So that's how I feel 6 months later with these three on software. 17 is a great entry point. But the edges are like the older edges of the iPhone, so and you do miss out on a couple things with camera, so it doesn't feel like the full package. It feels like 90% there on the base 17. So when it comes to the area of performance, which one 6 months later would I recommend? Well, first of all, it's easy to recommend all three in terms of them performing well. But I do think that for the best price to performance ratio, of course, that's the 17. We talked about it earlier, but I have to give the 17 Pro a nod again for giving you the most bang for the buck in performance. It performs great in the cameras, the performance in speed, 12 gigs of RAM, all for cheaper than the iPhone 17 Pro Max, still more than the Air, but the Air doesn't also give you the same battery as the iPhone 17 Pro. So for me, I think you're getting the most performance bang for the money here on the 17 Pro. If you're looking for like everything in the kitchen sink, but don't want to pay the top price, this is a pretty good balance right here of high-end materials, fast performance, and don't have to go top tier iPhone Max prices. So pretty solid offering there, I'd say, with the 17 Pro. And again, you're performing really good at one app at a time, not really craving the side-by-side. It's a really awesome experience. Again, though, if you're saving the most, it's easily the 17. If you're looking to save the most, though, that's how I've been feeling about these three after about 6 months in that area. Now, when it comes to camera, all of them are really good, but the Max and the Pro have the best cameras. No longer would you have to go to the Max to get more zoom or whatever. These two have the same cameras exactly. But the real world experience is not the same exactly because of the size of the iPhone 17 Pro Max. The 17 Pro Max gives you a bigger screen to frame these photos, to edit these photos and videos. And so I do think for creators, if you're creating content, photos, videos, or even family photos and videos, whatever you're doing, if you do this regularly, you'll want the Max. The Max does give you more space to go ahead and edit those videos like we showcased earlier. And if you throw it into a landscape configuration, it also does well in this department. It also has a big vapor chamber. So does the Pro, but this one's bigger, so it stays even cooler than the iPhone 17 Pro. And editing is going to be a breeze. It's going to feel like you have a little mini tablet here to do that stuff. So I do think that the camera experience is the best on the Max. You also do have a lot of space here to put the tripods on this phone and still see everything. When you're framing a selfie photo right here, you have a lot of screen space to see what's on screen. So it's really good. Also, when you hold down the camera control, it's a pretty big, area to go ahead and frame this without really dropping the phone. So I do think there I go dropping it without dropping the phone, and I drop it. But it gives you a good area. And I'm going to talk about why I dropped that later, because I have a section talking about what just happened right now in a little bit. It was already literally on my notes. But definitely I would say that the Max for the camera overall, top dog. But the 17 Pro is like the mini top dog. It kind of does the same things as well, but you can see that space between the power button and the camera control is definitely less there on the Pro. So when you do put these on tripods, they might hit the buttons more. I'm talking about pros or like sticking this on gimbals and things. It might hit these buttons more and mess up the experience a little bit. So that's just something to keep in mind. But if you like a more compact, portable, you maybe are a street photographer, whatever, you do things on the move, you might prefer the Pro, especially if you're just that type of person who wants to run this up to your MacBook or whatever, you'll be on your way. Now, the iPhone 17 to me is just a consumer camera for everybody. It's the everyone version. Yes, it can do majority similar results, but it's mostly, I think, the best for entry consumers into the iPhone space. You can say that's the 17e, but that's kind of really lacking in terms of the camera compared to these three. So that's what I got to say about camera. I'm going to Max as my recommendation after 6 months over these two. When it comes to battery, I'm going to call this one easily to the Max. This is 2 days right here on the iPhone Max in my real world experience. And it's continuing to stay that way, even though I've been using this for quite a few months here. It's been pretty much 2-day phone. I top it off like regularly anyway, just because I want to, but I know I don't have to. I just do it because I want to. But I'm finishing the day. I'm not even joking with you. I'm finishing the day over 60% daily with this phone. I didn't even charge this last night and it's at 69. So like this phone right here, yeah, it lasts and it's absolutely impressive. And it gets better as you use the phone. That's funny about it. You would start out, when it first starts out, when you first get it, it's got to adapt to your usage. Once it does though, you're like, wow, this thing just never wants to drain. So it's absolutely impressive. However, you could say, well, if you put it on GPS in a window, sunlight, brightness, you're using Google Maps, you could probably drain that thing really easily, just like any other phone. But I'm talking about normal daily heavy use. This phone is a 2-day. iPhone 17 Pro is a heavy use 1 day. I like to recommend this one as well. If you are okay with 1 day of heavy use, this one is very solid as well. All these have good standby time. And then the 17 is a day of medium to heavy use. I do think you could drain the 17. In 1 day if you are kind of, pushing it pretty hard, but it's also solid. So, here's the deal. If you're looking for a day of heavy use, it's the 17 Pro. If you're looking for 2 days, closer to 2 days, it's the 17 Pro Max. If you're looking for medium to heavy use, you're still looking to get through most of your day, it's the 17. Now, I'm talking about people are really using their phones. These people that put them in their pocket and don't use them, they have totally different battery experiences. But that's my 6 months later with these 17 models. Let me know which one you would go with when it comes to the battery. So 6 months later, I want to talk about feeling the hand. And this is where I'm going to go back to talking about the drop that occurred earlier in my camera section. The iPhone 17 is the grippiest feel in the hand of these. And it's mostly because these edges are still more flat. They're a little bit more less rounded than these two right here. So it feels like you got a really good grip on the 17. It's going to be the best phone if you want to use it without a case and not really think you're going to drop it too much. You're likely not going to drop the 17 very frequently. It just has a very grippy edges on that phone. The 17 Pro is pretty slippery, let's put it that way. But because the 17 Pro is not too wide and large, it's pretty easy to get a pretty good grip around it. So I don't think you're going to drop this one too regularly, but if you get a little bit sloppy in your day and you're not paying attention, it'll slip out of your hand as well. These aluminum chassis right here are pretty slippery, I found. But as you've seen earlier, the 17 Pro Max with its wide surface area, you'll see the width from side to side, just the ergonomics of it being really tall and wide. This phone, you're feeling the slipperiness easily. And if you're doing the hand gymnastics, you don't have a lot of grip on this thing too much. It does feel comfortable in the hand. Let's not get that twisted. It hits that palm super comfortably. But it's not super grippy either. So this is one of the iPhone's years where with the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max, I really strongly recommend using a case more than years before. Not only are they aluminum, which tends to scratch off the aluminum easier, especially on the cosmic orange or the navy blue color, but it does also seem to slip out of my hands quite a bit more than previous titanium, flatter edges, and stainless steel models of the past. So these are definitely case recommendation phones right here. So wrapping it up here, after 6 months, let's get to the final verdict. The best iPhone here, if you're seeking out bang for buck, most value for your money, it's the iPhone 17. And I'm talking about you're like all about value. You're trying to save money. Like that's your thing. That's what you're doing at this current chapter of your life. It's the 17. Let's not even get it twisted. And if you're like, you know what, that's still too high, take a look at the 17E. That has a lot of good bang for buck as well. But I think one that you can go the long haul and not feel like you're on some old phone and still have a really good experience, it's the 17. The only thing that concerns me a bit about the 17 long haul is the 8 gigs of RAM. That is pretty low. However, we've seen with the MacBook Neo that you can still get a lot more done than you might think with 8 gigs of RAM. So impressive phone there after 6 months, the iPhone 17. Now, 6 months later, the iPhone 17 Pro is going to be the best phone for the person who wants the balance of both worlds. They want the smaller size of like a 17. They don't want to compromise on features, and they also don't want to pay top dollar. They're willing to spend, but they're not willing to spend top dollar. That's the iPhone 17 Pro. It's still up there, but it's not way up there like the 17 Pro Max. So I will say that this is a really good sweet spot for those of you who really love what the Max looks like, but you're not down with the size, because here's why. Let's go up with the 40x zoom. Incredibly long zoom, just like that phone. But really, it seems like if Steve Jobs was still around, we might only have this type of phone right here. We might only have the smaller Pro. I think that might have been the case. He was really about these one-handed phones. It might not even be this big. I do wonder if Steve would have kept those iPhones much smaller, even to this day. That would have been interesting. They would be like the only ones doing the smaller phones. It might have been a popular trend. Let me know your thoughts about that down below. Or you think the way we went with the bigger iPhones was better? At the end of the day, going on a little bit of tangent there, best balance for a buck here, the iPhone 17 Pro after 6 months, and the 17 Pro Max. If you shoot videos, you edit videos, you play games, watch movies, watch a lot of media and content, or you just cannot deal with having just a little bit less battery life, and you're like, well, if I'm paying that money, might as well get the best battery life, and you're okay with the sacrifice of the ergonomics of the size of an iPhone 17 Pro Max, there's no doubt about it. This is the king of the three in that department. Options you can see are extremely good, though. No matter which way you go, you are going to win with these iPhone 17s. You cannot lose. That's the beauty of this lineup right here. However, one area you can lose is if you're that type of person who's on the fence about the Fold coming or the 18 Pro series, you want a little bit more, and you're like, well, we're only, 5 or 6 months away? Then you might lose there if you're waiting like that. But if you're like, nah, I'm buying a phone now, bro, that's how I feel about these three. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and let's discuss. I'll catch you on the next episode. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.